2016 of the Coolidge City Council to order, and ask that we stand for the invocation by Pastor John Johnson of the Community Presbyterian Church, and after that, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor.
Good evening. It's a pleasure and privilege to again ask the Lord's blessing on all of you and your undertakings this evening. You know, even as we witness the sometimes nasty aspects of our American political system as the race for president has begun, what you do here is the reason we have a political system, and there can be no greater honor, I hope, than to have the satisfaction of doing peace, justice, and righteousness for the people who you serve. Let us pray. O magnificent God, from whom no government figure could ever be granted a greater honor than for his or her work to find favor in your sight, I ask your blessings on the mayor and members of this council and all who support them, that whether they turn willingly or consciously to you, that through them your will for your people might be done, so that righteousness, peace, and justice may characterize this wonderful city of Coolidge. In the name of my personal Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Norma, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Gilbert Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Huddleston. Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Gary Lewis.
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta.
Here.
Thank you.
Right. Tonight under presentations, we have the monthly report and business spotlight recognitions by the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce. Oh, there she is. Welcome.
Feels like I've been here before. Mr. Mayor, council persons, tonight I'd like to introduce to you our business spotlight for February, which is the Cool Town Toastmasters, and they're here to talk a little bit about what they do. First, I want to present this to you guys.
My name is Kristen Gramando, and I'm representing our Cool Town Toastmasters here today. The greatest fear that people have in life is public speaking. Cool Town Toastmasters is the place to go if you have that fear. And for those of you who may not have that fear, it's an opportunity for you to improve your communication and leadership skills. And when you do that, you gain self-confidence and personal growth. We do that in many ways. Yes, we have specific speeches, but we have an agenda that has positions on it to allow all the different members to speak at every meeting. When you have a timed agenda, that means that you can have an effective meeting. How many times have you come to the council meeting and thought it would only be 45 minutes or an hour, 2 hours later, you were still here? A Toastmasters meeting is meant to be an hour long. You also have evaluations, speech evaluations. And like you in your positions and your jobs, you know that a good evaluation means when you tell the person what they did well and then how they can improve. And using positive language instead of saying, well, what you did wrong or one criticism I have. No, you tell them effective, positive evaluations and how you can improve the speech for the next time. And you also have networking opportunities. In Arizona, Toastmasters is the #1 networking opportunity in the state. Through Toastmasters, I found somebody to clean my house. I found a chiropractor. I found a dentist. I found any number of people because of Toastmasters. So I would like you to consider it, and we, the 6 members of Toastmasters that have come here today, we would like you to consider at least coming to one of our meetings, and that meets every Monday night in the boardroom at the Chamber of Commerce office at 6 o'clock. Perfect time, don't you think? Thank you very much. Thank you to the Chamber for acknowledging us as a Toastmasters Club, and thank you for giving us the time to tell you about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight, Lynn is ill, Amy is ill, so I got chosen to come here. I think you have our report already in front of you. We had the spotlight, of course, of the month we've already introduced. Our reinvestments for the month of December was the Tractor Supply Company, Bank of the West, Galloway and Galloway Associates, St. Michael's Episcopal Church, Wirtz Farms, Central Arizona College, Cox Communications, St. James Catholic Church, Sun Life Family Health Center, Desert View Communities, Pinell County Sheriff's Office, Brown's Coolers, Furniture and Appliances, K&S Sports, Jack Harrison Contractor, Coolidge Examiner, and United Way. Our two new members for the month of December was McDonald's of Coolidge and Dreamline Motors. We were kind of busy, as you can see by our report. We had 277,179 hits on our website. We had 736 walk-ins, 358 phone calls, and we haven't been sending out a lot of relocation packets. It seems like people are just moving here, then they come in and ask, what do you have? But I did send one out today, so that was interesting. The Casa Grande Ruins had 6,034 visitors, and they're up to 74,766. I'm not going to read all the sheet because I know you have a big agenda, but we do have the running of the gourds coming up this weekend. If you haven't seen that, I encourage everyone to go to that. We've got Dolan Ellis coming, our membership luncheons on the 17th, and we have Stephanie Dolan, who's the Deputy Director for the Arizona Tourism, that's going to be visiting with us. And we've got Live, Laugh, and Sing, and of course Cotton Days is just around the corner. So thank you again for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions? Thank you very much, Sherry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is call to the public. That is the portion that allows any member out in the audience and the public to come up to the podium, and they have 3 to 5 minutes to discuss whatever is on their mind or address this council. I would say that we cannot respond per our attorney's advice, but we can sure listen. So if there's anybody that wants to address the council, Bob, please come on up. So I don't see anybody coming forward, so we will move on to the approval of the minutes. Discussion and action, item number 5. City Council regular meeting, January 11th, 2016. Number 6, City Council study session, January 25th. And number 7, City Council regular meeting, January 25th, 2016. If you've reviewed them, I would look for any corrections, and if none, I'd look for a motion.
Mayor, if there's no more discussion, I move to approve items 5, 6, and 7 as read.
Second.
Okay. Motion, and pick your second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll move into the business items. Items for off the consent agenda. I will ask the council now if there's anybody that wants to have anything removed for separate discussion. Seeing none, I would also say Norma or Dennis, Mr. Fitzgibbons. Resolutions are 11 and 12. Do I have to? I can read the whole thing in one vote. Will take care of it.
Right, and just take a roll call for the whole thing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Item 8. Consider approval of the request made from the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce for this year's Cotton Days festivities being held March 4th through March 6th, 2016, to include use of the San Carlos Park. City staff assistance, permission to have a beer garden on Saturday, March 5th from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., and all street closures included under Parade Route A. Or in the event Central Avenue is not accessible, all street closures included in Parade Route B for the parade on Saturday, March 5th, and closure of 4th Street between Pinkley and Central Avenue from March 1st through March 6th to accommodate the carnival, and closure of Central Avenue between 3rd and 4th Street on Saturday, March 5th and Sunday, March 6th from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for all Cotton Days activities pending availability of Central Avenue due to the reconstruction, and 3rd Street between Central and Pinkley Avenue on March 5th and March 6th from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for Cotton Days activities, and a barricade at the alley between the Southwest Eye Center and the Coolidge Examiner on Central Arizona. Item 9, consider approval of a special event liquor license application submitted by Ms. Lynn Parsons for the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce for their annual Cotton Days Festival being held on Saturday, March 5th, 2016. Item 10, consider approval of entering into a memorandum of understanding between Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation and the Coolidge Police Department to accept and spend $8,906.40 to purchase 9 automated external defibrillators, AEDs. Item 12, resolution number 16-02, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, authorizing the adoption of the owner-occupied housing rehabilitation guidelines dated November 2015 in relation to applications for FY 2015 state housing funds and community development block grant funds for a housing rehabilitation program. And item number 12, resolution 16-03, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge authorizing the submission of an application for the state housing funds, which may include federal funding through the Home Investment Partnership Program or state housing funds, certify that said application meets the community's housing and community development needs and the requirements of the state housing programs, and authorizing all actions necessary to implement and complete the activities outlined in said application. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, we need a vote, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve consent agenda items 8 through 12 as read.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call.
Councilmember Hudson?
Who, me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Lopez?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, we'll move into the business regular items. Item number 13, consider award of bid to CrossFit Pinal for the city-owned property at 207 South Main Street and authorize staff to negotiate a lease. Jill?
Good evening. Mayor, Council, we do have before you this evening an award of a bid for the city-owned property at 207 South Main. In December, a bid advertisement was posted regarding this building to make it available to someone in the community to put it back into good use. It has been vacant for the last several years and also needs some repairs. We were fortunate. We did have one responder on the bid notice that was issued in December by the city manager. CrossFit Pinal did respond to the bid, and Mr. Chris Newman is here with us this evening of CrossFit Pinal. And staff would like your approval to accept that bid and to continue going forward with negotiations. As you might have seen in reviewing the materials, Mr. Newman's original proposal included a lease purchase option. However, because the building was not advertised for purchase, the city attorney has advised that we cannot proceed with that. I did talk with Mr. Newman, and he's willing to go forward with just a lease of the building. At this point, there are some identification of items going on that will be required before a certificate of occupancy could be issued. So that's why we're not prepared this evening to bring a lease forward. But accepting the bid gives Mr. Newman the confidence that council is working with him. Building department staff will work with him to identify those items that must be completed, and then we can work on negotiating a lease. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and if you have a question of Mr. Newman, he's here to answer any questions as well.
I do have a question of Mr. Newman. I noticed that you're going to select give 4 memberships to the high school. Can you please? And I'm curious, Chris, how are you going to select those individuals?
I haven't, it's to be determined, but I'm assuming I'd work with the coaches and the teachers for those that are deserving of that type of scholarship. CrossFit's not for everybody. And at the same time, I don't want to just select, your athletes that, so it needs to be deserving. It needs to be someone who's going to be committed to it. The scholarship will be for a year, and I'll put together some sort of proposal for qualifications for that.
Okay, thank you. I was curious. I saw the figure $2,800 in there. Is that for all 4 of them, or was that for one scholarship?
That's for all 4. Yeah.
That's for all 4.
Yeah. So a student membership, I'm charging $60 per month. So 60 times 12 months, and then times 4 is what is that correct math? So.
You looked to your accountant, didn't you?
Yeah,
I understand.
She is the accountant. I have no idea when it comes to finances. That's what.
Okay, does anybody else have any?
Just one question that just came up. We have city schools. We have an Imagine High School as well. So without opening up to any
Sure. Yeah.
student in the city.
Any student, yeah, okay. Anyone deserving.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would be like a student applying for a scholarship. So there would be an application process where it would be fair and it would be available to everybody, just not a select group of. I'm a former football player, so I certainly wouldn't just say, okay, it's just football players. It would be, everyone would have a fair shot at this scholarship.
I appreciate working with Chris initially. He doesn't want just a heavy metal place. He doesn't want just a free-for-all, and I appreciate that, Chris. He wants a very very good gymnasium to work in.
If nobody has any, go ahead.
Just, Dennis, I'm a member of the gym. Can I still vote on this?
No. Yes, you can, yeah, because it has no impact on that.
Okay.
I mean, unless he's guaranteed you something.
No. You guarantee me to sweat and lift heavy things, that's about it.
Off your membership or your
Yeah, I guarantee to give Gary a hard time every time he's in the gym.
He does.
Well, in that case.
We'll vote for it.
Yeah. I would like to say, though, before we vote on it, I am a member there. My son works out there, and my son, who's an up-and-coming star in the field of CrossFit. It is, Mr. Newman said, CrossFit's not for everybody. That doesn't mean anybody can give it a shot. I mean, he does really well with people who would, like myself, who you wouldn't think could do it. He works really well with them. Membership interest has been high. He's in a small place right now, so getting this new building and the amount of work he's willing to put in for it is a good investment in our city, which is originally why I kind of hooked him and Bob up for that building. Yeah, so it can't do nothing but help, and it's going to be in our downtown. It's going to be great for moving our downtown to where we want it to go. But I encourage everyone to go in and visit and maybe try one workout.
Yeah, and the other things that I'm planning on bringing in that building is yoga. There's nothing close by. There's no real yoga in this vicinity. Boot camps as well. And so it'll be more than just CrossFit.
Yeah, Jill, this is for you. 207 South Main Street. I know the city owns a lot of buildings, and I know the citizens don't know exactly where 207 South Main Street, what building that is. Where is it in conjunction to, where is it at, that the citizens would know what building that might be?
Sure. The building is across the street from the bakery,
Okay.
so it's on the southeast corner of Main and Roosevelt.
So it's by the new bar that just opened up?
It's a couple of buildings up from the new bar, so as you're heading north or heading towards City Hall,
Okay.
on that same side of the street.
Okay, thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. It's the corner, corner of Roosevelt.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think it'll be a good thing to generate traffic downtown. If it benefits Chris, and it benefits the citizens here, that's good enough for me. But I'm looking for a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 13 as read.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, item 14, consider approval of FY 14-15 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the audit for filing. Welcome.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of council. Get my stuff here. You were too quick, Mayor. You have before you tonight the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the period ending June 30, 2015. That's a large document, and I'm not going to go through the entire thing with you. I'd just like to highlight a couple of things and then open it for some questions, and to let you know that Jim Yusevich with Colby and Powell, the company we employed to do our audit this year, is here in the audience in case you have questions for him. And I'll be referring to page numbers in the actual document and not the page numbers that are on your iPads. So basically, the CAFR, this will be our seventh, I believe it's our seventh CAFR that we'll be doing, and we've already submitted it to the Government Finance Officers Association for certification again this year. The CAFR has 3 different sections: an introductory section, a financial section, and a statistical section. The first letter that's presented in here is the transmittal letter, and it's basically the primary purpose of the report is to give the City Council and the Coolidge citizens, legislative bodies, investors, detailed information concerning the financial condition of the city at the end of June of 2015. Producing a CAFR also satisfies a requirement where all government bodies have to post on their websites all of their revenues and expenditures. We don't have to do that because we have a certified CAFR each year. It has to actually receive the certificate from GFOA to be certified. If you go into the first couple of pages, and it's actually Roman numeral 9. Yes. Just list some major budgetary initiatives that we had during this past fiscal year. We kept the freeze on capital funds, so therefore anytime we get ready to purchase a piece of capital equipment or do anything of a capital nature, it comes back before council because those funds have to be unfrozen before they're spent. We still do receive the in lieu property tax from the Salt River project, and we did do the phased retirement program this past year that saved the city approximately $45,000 in a year by allowing those individuals to phase into retirement. Local economy, our current rate of unemployment is at 6.5, stayed steady from the year before as compared to the state's unemployment rate of 5.8. On long-term planning, capital projects that we completed this past year were the building improvements. We started the prior year with basically refurbishing City Hall. This past year included the library. Citywide street repair, as you know, we're giving $500,000 a year from the general fund to the street program for street repair. Coolidge Avenue reconstruction was actually completed in this last fiscal year and booked as a fixed asset. And the city's general plan, while it might have taken place prior to the end of June the prior year, it was voted on in the fiscal year that we're talking about and approved. Future projects include, of course, Central Avenue reconstruction, which we're all aware of going on right now, the citywide signing project, Randolph Road reconstruction, the street drainage study, Main Street reconstruction, airport runway, MIRL and signage project, and the airport fuel facility, which seems like we discussed all of that during this time last year, but it did not actually take place, the work itself, until this fiscal year that we're in right now. So it's still a project that we're looking forward for the current fiscal year. We did receive the, again, the certification for the 2014 award. On page 6 starts the management's discussion and analysis, which basically just summarizes all of the things that you see in the financial statements that follow. And just as a highlight on page 10, talks about the changes in net position of the city. And you'll see in there there's 2 sections to the CAFR. There's the governmental activities, and then there's the business type activities. Business type activities are our enterprise funds, which would be liquid waste, solid waste, and the airport. Everything else is under the governmental activities. We still, on revenues, we, under fines, fees, and charges for services includes our building fees, court fees, etc. Collected $791,514. Operating grants and contributions, about $3.4 million. Capital grants and contributions, $4.7 million. And in local taxes, which includes property tax, franchise fees, and sales tax, $6.8 million. State shared revenues at $3.1 million. And then we get a very small amount of interest on that. On page 12, it talks about the fund balances and where those went from the prior year. Basically, on the right-hand side in the table that you see in the center of the page, all of the fund balances increased except for general fund. And there were lots of different reasons for that. Basically, the $500,000 a year that we're sending from general fund to the streets. We had an interfund loan, if you remember, at $149,950 that we loaned the streets department to purchase the sweeper, and we'll be getting that back gradually over the next 5 years. Health insurance, of course, that was a nightmare this last year. Basically, had to pay $528,000 more than our premiums that we paid in. We got about $263 of that back, but that still leaves about $220,000 still out there, and we're still waiting to get the final results on that. We may not know anything final until closer to the end of June this year. And then our transfers to the transit department and airport were a little bit larger than what we had originally anticipated. So that did cause the fund balance and general fund to go down by a little over $1 million for this past year. We are still, however, holding our 20% of all revenues in our general fund as a reserve. We will not be budgeting those or spending them this year. On page 15, looks at our outstanding debt. We do still have a loan payable under government activities, which is the GATA loan. It's this facility that we're in right now. That's going down gradually. We have a principal balance of $1.8 million. And then under the business type activities, we have 2 WIFA loans, one from 1999, one from 2009 on the improvements at the wastewater treatment plant. And then this year we added the airport fuel tanks to that debt service. We talk about a couple of, at the bottom of page 15, other factors affecting this next year's budget, which is the budget we're in right now. Declining revenues and road funds. Anytime an entity within Pinal County or within the state of Arizona grows in population and the city of Coolidge does not grow in population, then we receive a smaller portion of what's available for road funds out there. And we are currently still putting 25% of all city sales tax into a capital fund for capital expenditures. That's totally at council's discretion. And of course, when we get into the budget process, you'll be reminded of all the types of projects that we pay for out of that 25%. Whether you decide to put that much in, for this next year or decide to back it down, I have no idea, but we'll discuss that during the budget. We talked about those. Enterprise funds. Those again are your business type activities. If you look at page 31, you look at the net position at the end of the fiscal year. And basically, we are still running on solid waste. We are still running in the hole on solid waste. We are not collecting enough in our user fees to pay for our ongoing expenses in solid waste. Liquid waste still has funds in there. We still have monies in the impact fees under liquid waste to use. And then the airport, while it shows that we have $551,000 at the end of the fiscal year, it does include the loan that's in there for the fuel tanks. And of course, that was spent in the first part of this fiscal year. If you go back to actually, I do want to discuss page 82. We had a lot of discussions during the budget process, and the other night when we were talking about revenues at the last council meeting in reference to the unfunded liability on our retirement plans. And on page 82, it basically shows you that there's an unfunded liability in the Arizona State retirement system of $6.8 million. Right now, it's only funded at 69%. Now, it's a little bit different than the PSPRS, or the Public Safety Retirement System, in that if they decided to make changes in how they were going to collect funds, or, you know, change our contributions on this, it would be statewide. It wouldn't be just for the city of Coolidge. It would be statewide. Everybody's change would be the same. Whereas the next page, 83, is on the Public Safety Retirement System, which is 5.6% unfunded, only funded at 46%. And of course, any changes that they make in here, that's our plan. Each individual city has a plan within that retirement system. And if you remember this last fiscal year in our budget, we went from contributing 27% of our salaries to 36%, and looks like it's going to be around 42% for next year. So that continues to be an issue for us, but we'll deal with it as we move through budget. And the fire on page 84 is actually $138,000 above, you know, in the black, but then of course we only have 4 full-time firefighters. Actually 5 now, because we did fund that, or we're getting ready to hire that last position, Chief. So we'll have 4 full-time firefighters and the chief's position. So basically those are not anything different than what we had talked about during the budget cycle, and we'll get into those again during this current year's. Just wanted to, I'm not going to go through the whole statistical section in the back. That just sort of gives you a 10 years worth of history. And looking at page 139, it was quite interesting. We call each of our major employers each year to find out the number of employees that they have, and it probably depends on who you talk to. But one of the things that we noted is that in the prior year, Walmart reported having 320 employees, and this year they reported having 210. So that's a significant, that's about 110 difference. Now, I don't know if they're talking, and I would have to be sure whether they were talking full-time equivalents. You might have several part-time people that would make up one full-time position, but that was a little alarming, and I don't know that's what they reported to us, and so that's what we've stated in here. But again, it was alarming. In fact, most of the major employers that we had listed here did go down. Overall, it went down about 210 employees overall for all of those major employers. On page 140, we talk about the different positions, how many positions we have in each of the departments that are listed. In 2009, we basically had, under general government, we had 30 employees, and in 2015 we have 33. Public safety had 83 positions. We now have 78. Under highways and streets we had 12. We now have close to 10. Transportation was 7. We now have 12. Culture and recreation, we had 35. We're down to 26. Redevelopment and housing had basically 12, and we now have 5. And this is based on percentages that are charged into each one of these grants. For a total, we had basically 181 employees in 2009, and now we have 165. So we are still down, but we've gone up slightly. We've added a few positions over this last year. I believe we added 2.5 positions this past year. And so that's basically what I wanted to report on there. Are there any questions on the CAFR itself? Because I did want to discuss our single audit as well, which talks about our federal funding.
Yeah, Lisa, you said that we keep 20%
Yes.
the revenue, and we put it like in a rating day account. What figure is that, so the citizens of Coolidge know about how much money that is?
It's roughly about $2.5 million.
So we keep about $2.5 million
Right.
in a rating day account.
Right. We keep that 20% in a reserve, and we do not budget it to be spent.
Correct. And then also, I know you said that the solid waste, we're still losing money. but the changes that we've made over the last 2 years has actually saved us money. So the loss of that department is a lot less than it could have been if we didn't make those changes.
Absolutely. Before we did the increase to almost 3 years ago, now about 2.5 years ago, we were closer. I think we were projecting, Susanna, wasn't it about 800,000 in the hole? And we're down significantly. I think it showed a little over 300,000 now. So we're making headway. It's just that it's not enough to cover the things that they have budgeted in there. They have equipment needs that we're unable to purchase.
Correct. Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I just wanted to state I was happy to see that one of the big things, the important things, are the internal controls, and they passed. I mean, it looks like they're in good shape, and our internal controls are adequate to deal with what we're doing, and that's really important for the public to know, so that that's, if you don't have proper internal controls, that you have issues with money and appropriations, where it goes. So that was really important. That's where I always go to first, and I was looking at that. That's good. Thank you.
Truly. Thank you. I did kind of skip over that, didn't I? It was good news. We do have, it does report in here in the auditor's letter that we do have good controls. In fact, it basically states in there that they did, of the things they tested, because they don't give us a sort of a carte blanche saying everything we did was great, but of the things they tested, they did not find anything that was considered to be material.
It's like preaching to the choir, because every year Lisa runs a very tight ship, and I think the auditors know that. And congratulations again.
Thank you. I appreciate that. In the single audit, that's the separate attachment that was also given along with this. It basically just talks about, gives a whole list of federal funds that we receive, different grants, and of the items they tested there, we had no findings there as well. We are considered a low-risk auditee, and that's always good to know. However, there's a letter that I passed out to you tonight, was not attached to your item as it was not available at the time the packet went out. But it's basically a letter from Colby and Powell telling us there are 3 things there that we could improve upon. Our year-end close, we did have a change in staff members in the finance department when we were going through the closeout. And so there were a couple of entries that were made after the auditors had come in. Capital assets, and as I discussed the next item, we're in need of some work on our capital assets, and that in reconciling them with our financial software. And then issuance of checks, we just have to remind our department directors that no checks are to be issued until the services have been completed. We were letting them hand out the checks to their suppliers, in some cases contractors and whatnot, but there was a case where a check was in there for more than 2 weeks, and so I've just basically let them know that if we have a check holding them in the safe now, they don't get released to anyone else. If they go past 2 weeks, they will be void, and they'll have to reissue. They were fairly simple things, and then there's just the other item that was passed out to you, and it just basically lets you know if the auditors found any uncorrected misstatements or found us hard to deal with, and according to their letter they did not. So basically everything still looks good, but again, Mr. Yusevich is here to ask questions if you should have any of him.
No questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. If this is the worst we've done, then I guess we're pretty good shape right now. So I think it's a good audit. Wasn't there some escalators built into the rates on the trash when we went through that, or no, there wasn't any?
There wasn't, but we had talked about them at one time, but when we actually brought it to council for action, we did not include escalators.
Okay.
I believe that the solid waste study suggested that we do escalators.
All right. I thought there was, but if there's not, then yeah. But we have kept the deficit quite a bit.
We have. In fact, I want to say that our collections because we're still collecting past due debts on liquid and solid waste. Our collections are still at 90%, which is very good. And actually, in one case, I've probably under the solid waste, we collected a little over 100%. Of course, that wasn't of current bills. A lot of that were outstanding bills. A lot of people came in and paid their outstanding bills. We do have a lot of people still on payment plans, still paying their debts off. And, of course, we did institute all of the fees. Suzanne may need to remind me, there's the $25 basically to sign up for trash. We have the deposit that we now keep on hand that does not belong to us. The money doesn't. If they should close their account, the deposit gets refunded or applied toward their bill, which is helping in a lot of cases. We have a return can fee. If their can gets picked up for non-payment, they have to pay another fee to get that back. And, of course, the deposit escalates depending on your credit history with the city.
Well, we've certainly turned that into an experience.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess financially it's paid off. So.
It has.
Okay. And I haven't noticed, has the examiner run the list that they used to run?
Yes, it was printed in, it was printed in November. It'll be printed again in May.
Okay, I missed that, I guess.
We did not list the individuals who are on payment plans. If they're currently making their payments as they agreed to, then they have not been put on the list. If they decide not to make those payments, then they'll be added back to the list.
Okay, thank you. Down here? Oh, down here? All right, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Item 15, consider approval of adding an accountant position at range 56.
Do we need to make a?
You need a motion.
Oh, I'm
for
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry.
It's adopted for filing, yes.
Yeah.
Motion to
Yeah,
approve 14 is read.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, now I can go to 15. Consider approval of adding an accountant position at range 56 in the salary plan and allow the finance department to fill said position in lieu of filling the senior account clerk position. Discussion and action. Lisa, that's you.
Yes. Honorable Mayor, members of council, I first of all want to start by saying I'm not adding a position to finance. I would not be filling the vacated senior account clerk position and adding an accountant position instead. Would like to say that I probably should have added this accountant position back in 2006 when all of the buildings started and things started changing. The more GASB pronouncements that come out that require us to report things in a different financial way. In fact, your CAFR had 25 pages added to it just for the unfunded liability on all of the retirement systems. It's become very cumbersome. And I sort of, when the senior account clerk position, and I probably should have attached a copy of the senior account clerk, and I meant to make copies and I didn't, I apologize. The senior account clerk position description that was adopted back in 2006 when the salary study was done. Basically, there were two senior account clerk positions at that time when the study was done. There was one that basically handled oversaw like the payroll and the accounts payable, journal entries, some of the detailed ledger functions, and the other senior account clerk position was basically for utilities, mostly collections of utilities, the one who sets up all those payment plans and monitors those. And when I got ready to fill this senior account clerk position, it was really an ideal time to look at what the department actually needed. Do I need someone who basically just does the, works on collections for utilities? That's certainly still a main function in our department, but it was an ideal opportunity to actually add an accountant position. Looked at, I didn't check with Eloy, but looked at Casa Grande and the town of Florence, all of which have accountant positions in addition to whatever they call as their supervisor position. And I know that Councilmember Murrieta had asked me what Gabe's position was when he left here, and it was senior or accounting supervisor, and that position is filled by Rachel Duran at this time. So I'm not asking to change that position in any way. It's an opportunity for us to sort of restructure the finance department and give a little bit of assistance to myself and the accounting supervisor on some of the accounting duties. And that looking at, if you look at the description that was handed out to you tonight or was attached to your item, there's the whole second bullet point all of the items in there are not included in the original senior account clerk position because that individual was not doing journal entries. They were not preparing any portion of the closeout. I do all of that. They weren't preparing journal entries. They were not working with any of the yearly tax reports. We're not doing assisting with the auditor in any way. This is something that I need to help take a little bit of stress off of me. I'm sure that the what am I trying to say? The vice mayor, I wanted to say assistant, but I knew that wasn't right. The vice mayor will attest to, she drives by every now and then and will call me at 8 o'clock at night and ask me why I'm still at work. And basically that's because I am the only one that's preparing a lot of these things for the auditors. I'm the only one doing these accounting functions. I basically answer emails and do a lot of work during the daytime before 5 o'clock and get to the other duties after 5 o'clock. So I am very often here till 8 o'clock, and I am a salaried individual, and so yes, we work until our job is done, but am needing a little bit of help in the accounting department. And so we are just asking, I'm not asking to pay this individual any more than what I have budgeted for the senior account clerk, because that individual was budgeted at the very high end. They'd been here for quite some time and they were maxed out in their position, so I wouldn't ask to pay this individual anymore. What it does is it basically just changes the title, changes some of the job duties to help out with the accounting functions, and allows for people when they're looking at this. I think one of the reasons, maybe two of the reasons, that we've had a hard time getting applicants for the senior account clerk position is the title itself asks that they have 2 years of accounting with 2 years, it says an associate's degree in accounting with at least 2 years of experience. We're calling this a clerk, and when people are looking at that and they've got this accounting experience, they don't really want to be referenced to as a clerk. And then they look at the range. If the high end of the range is at $51,000 and they're already somewhere close to that, they have nowhere to go. Why would they apply for this position? And so I've just asked that this be moved up to a range 56, which is still below the accounting supervisor position, which is at a range 64. In a range 56, you have your media manager, your fire engineer, and your human resource analyst was at this range, and then we've added the accountant into that. I think it fits in that range quite well. Starts at 44 with a high of 66. If I found someone that applied that had the experience and knowledge necessary, would probably bring them in below the midpoint, which is at 55. I've budgeted 51, so it would probably be somewhere around there.
And
but it
you
just
know,
leaves
this
them some
came
room to
about
grow.
because of a retirement, and because of the retirement, and you know, this created change.
Right. It was just a good opportunity. While we had the same position since, well, gosh, for the longest time, and in 2006 when we did the salary plan, we didn't have, I mean, the individual in the senior account clerk position was not doing the accounting functions that I'm going to require this individual to do. This basically is going to be someone who is going to sit at a desk and work with numbers. Currently, we get the reports from the Department of Revenue each month on the sales tax that's being paid, and Mr. Haller, we've hired him to do external audits, but it's very difficult to find the time to sit and go through those payment journals on a monthly basis. Most of the time I get to those on a quarterly basis, and it would really be nice to be able to do some of these other things that we've not been able to do. I, in turn, still do, I'm very hands-on. Even though I got a third of a person when we added the administrative assistant position, I don't use that individual as an administrative assistant. I use my third of that individual to cover the front desk when they're on vacation or out to lunch and things like that. Still do all of my own correspondence and a lot of those things that I would be able to pass down to the accounting supervisor if I could give some of the accounting duties over to an individual that had the experience and the expertise.
Okay. Are there any questions?
Yes, Mayor. I would like to table this agenda item tonight. I would like a little bit more information, Lisa, from quite a few different things. And I didn't have an opportunity to call you and ask you or get it where I could look at it. But myself, and I don't want to talk about it right now, but I would like to give you a call and get some information that I would like to have to make a intelligent decision about this. So my feeling is I'd actually like to table this agenda item till the next meeting.
Honorable Mayor and Councilmember Hudson, this position has been vacant since the end of December. Now, we do have the individual still working 3 days a week with us on a 6-hour-a-day basis. I was really in hopes to be able to advertise this position after the council meeting tonight. Again, I'm not adding a position. I'm not even increasing my budget. It's just I guess maybe it might have been easier if I just simply came to council and said I need to reclassify the senior account clerk position to an accountant rather than a senior account clerk, because that's really all it is instead of a senior account clerk at this range, there's additional duties. Would like to reclassify it into a 56 and rename it. I was really hoping to get that advertised after the council meeting tonight, unless all of council feels that way.
Well, it sounds to me like there's a number of options, and well, on our side, on your side, there's maybe not so many, but we are just going into the budget process, and I don't know what's going to happen, but there is a motion to table, so at this point in time, I'd look to see if there's a second.
I have a question before we move into that, if we can.
Go ahead.
The accounting duties that you want this accountant to do, who has been doing those for the last 2 year, besides yourself? Who was the person
Some of them were done by the former accounting supervisor.
Okay. And are they not being done by the current accounting supervisor?
During the closeout process, there were a lot of things that I was not able to pass down to that position because that position is overwhelmed with other duties. And that wasn't any different with the former. I don't want to get into individuals here. I mean, it's not any different than it was before. Some of the closeout duties, yes, I had to do most of those myself this last year because I did not have a chance to get the new accounting supervisor into that type of training. But duties will cross. In other words, the accounting supervisor will be trained. I mean, she's still trained in some of the duties that the accountant will do. We all want to be cross-trained. We have to have 2 people in our department that need to know how to do every single function in there. Because currently, when I go on vacation, no one does my stuff when I get back. If I want to be off a week, I have to work a couple of weekends before to be able to take a week off. I need the help under accounting, and yes, the accounting supervisor does do a lot of things like bank reconciliations, and the fixed assets, again, is sort of an issue that we've had for a couple of years, and we really need to get someone in that can has the expertise to sit down and just work on fixed assets and doesn't have to worry about managing what the rest of the people in the department are doing and helping them, with their projects and the accounting software and the other things that an individual does. I mean, we've needed an accountant position for years. I just saw this as an opportunity to change that job description slightly, add a few more of the accounting duties into it. Same pay that I'm paying now, but with some room to grow.
At this moment, though, is that current position able to do these accounting duties?
The current position?
The supervisor position.
The accounting supervisor position? Some of them, not all of them.
Okay. I like to second Mr. Hudson's motion.
Is there any more discussion? All right. I guess there's been a motion and a second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I would ask what information you're looking for exactly.
I'll call you tomorrow and tell you what I would just need, Lisa. I don't want to talk about it right now.
Okay, well, I would expect to get an email or a phone call from all of you because while I might answer Mr. Hudson's questions, it might not be all of your questions. So make sure that
we'll be
you
in contact, I'm sure.
Let me know what you need so if I bring it back to council at the next meeting, we don't have to keep putting this off. I mean, I'd be more than happy just to advertised for a senior account clerk. I've had a hard time getting applicants in that position.
It's a little late now, but I think that's, aren't you, yeah, it's a motion
I
to
know,
table.
but you said you've advertised. Have you continued to advertise?
I have not advertised the past probably 3 weeks. We advertised, I think, the first part of January for the accounting, for the senior account clerk position. The applicants that we received did not have the necessary qualifications for that position. And so we're having a hard time getting it filled with what we're asking for. I mean, the senior account clerk position still asks for the 2-year degree with the experience in accounting. But the pay is not there. Most people are making around $51,000, and that is the top end of the current position. So, yeah. So, yes, please either call me or email me and let me know what each individual, what you're looking for.
And Mr. Mayor, usually if somebody gets information, it's all sent to all of us so that
Yes.
that we all get the same information. So we'll have it if you
Sure.
can send it, then we'd all see where everything is. We may even think of new questions that we didn't think of when we see.
Okay.
No problem, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Item number 16, consider approval of entering into a service agreement and addendum between the City of Coolidge and Tata and Howard, Inc. for on-call professional consulting services, wastewater treatment for the design of 3 minor wastewater projects, task order 16-01. Susanna?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We are experiencing quite a bit of hydrogen sulfide damage in our wastewater treatment plant manholes. Some effect is being shown on some of the pumps and items in the lift stations at this point in time. We also have quite a few odor complaints on a regular basis, especially this time of year. Carter Ranch, Los Arboles, Heartland, right around the wastewater treatment plant. Based upon the damage that we're seeing, or based upon this, we are seeing damage on in our headworks, where we have an auger that has been down now for about a month that we've tried to do some repair on. We did do some analysis on that auger for replacement and got anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000 in costs for replacement. Our bar screen also, or fine screen into the bar screen area, is also having some issues with some degradation. We did bring down an engineer to come and look at the system and say, can you help us with the decision making on the auger? And with that, in further conversation and the pointing out of some of the other issues within the system, they said maybe it would be wise to also look at this hydrogen sulfide from a grander perspective. I do believe that that is something that we need to do. The firm that I am looking at I'm looking to hire them on a sole source type basis. Just went to them, asked them for a quote versus going through an RFQ process, which can take up to 6 months to go through that process. This firm's qualifications really, they have a lot of people that are not only design engineers, but they're also operators of wastewater treatment plants. So they've experienced this type of issue with systems that really kind of have had designs in place with the anticipation of great growth, and found out that without that great growth, these types of things show up. So tonight I'm just asking to get an approval to work with Tata and Howard to work on these items. They would do that analysis system-wise. They would help us choose and specify, put the specifications together for a new fine screen as well as the auger, and then also move into some manhole repairs that need to be done as well because of this issue.
Thank you. After I read all the way through this, I found some questions that I had, and then I read the addendum, and it answered the questions.
Okay.
So it looks like Fitzgibbon's law firm is finally the venue on where we would settle our difficulties and the insurance issues. It looks like the addendum took care of that, so I don't have a whole. I'm going to start down here. Tatiana, do you have anything? Gary?
No, sir.
Mr. Mayor? Gilbert?
Not good.
How about you?
No.
Okay. Well, all right.
Motion
Yeah.
to approve. Oh, sorry.
And it, you know, it'll, you know, I won't totally cure itself, but once we start getting increased growth and increased flowage, that problem tends to disappear. But if you don't have the movement in the pipes, then you get this buildup of gas, and it can destroy pipes and augers and screens and all this stuff.
I checked these guys out, and they look like they're a pretty good outfit, so.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a motion and a second, I believe.
Have a
Motion, yeah.
Second.
There's a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. All right, report from the mayor, council, and/or city manager. This time we start down here with Councilmember Maria.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Lewis.
Just a few things. Last week I went out of town to Austin, Texas for a CrossFit competition for my son, and I can tell you, I missed driving on our roads when I was there. Coolidge's road problems were nothing compared to Texas, I tell you what. So I'm glad that the work that we do here, I was glad to see comparing to a different place outside of Arizona. And then I had all the public safety guys at the house on Saturday feeding them as I was testing some food that I'm doing for an upcoming event. So the cops and the ambulance personnel got to eat pretty well on Saturday. So if you're off duty, then I apologize that you didn't come by. But yeah, that's about it.
Vice Mayor.
Let's see here. I wanted to, the Coolidge Cotton Patchers are having their quilt show at the same time as the Cotton Days, and that's at the Women's Club. And I attended the breakfast with the mayor. He did an excellent job. I went to the ribbon cutting at the Tequila Jacks, and they have really done a lot of work there, and there was quite a few people there. And then Friday, I attended the paint and pour at the Artisan Village, and I'm not the artist by any means, and I told my husband, I said, I don't think I'll take art up. But he said I did a pretty good job. So it was fun.
Paint by numbers?
It's open to the public. No.
Not paint by numbers?
It wasn't paint by numbers. Anyway, it's open to the public, and I encourage the citizens of Coolidge to take advantage of the different things they're having at the Artisan Village.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also went to breakfast with the mayor, and the mayor did do an excellent job. I think it's great for the business people of Coolidge to sit down and him discuss what is going on in the city of Coolidge, which is quite a bit. It's really amazing how we're starting to turn the corner, and I think that probably, I feel real good about it. I think that, you know, in the next 6 months or 8 months, we might see a lot more that is going to bring businesses and revenue into the city of Coolidge that will give us opportunities to do more things for the citizens of Coolidge. You know, one of the things we discussed is we voted as a council not to pay the Access Arizona anymore. And it looks like the money that we're spending for the Chamber of Commerce, for this Artisan Village and the Coolidge Economic Development is starting to pay off. It's only been a short period of time, but as I talked to Mayor and Vice Mayor and then the Chamber of Commerce and Coolidge Economic Development, Artisan Village, everybody is really positive about what's going on in Coolidge. And our money is being well spent instead of giving it to Access Arizona. I also attended the ribbon cutting at the Tequila Jacks, which was a great turnout. And I talked to Nick the other day, and his business is booming. Saturday night, they had to actually stop letting people in because of the occupancy restrictions. It's a place that you could actually go to take your wife or go down there and feel safe. They've got, on the weekends, 4 bouncers. They don't put up with anything. And it's just nice to have some place in there that you can actually go in and feel safe, that you don't have to worry about getting in a fight. And so that was nice. I attended the fly-in, which I was totally amazed. They served 400 some odd plates of food there, and the number of planes that were there was just phenomenal. I had an opportunity to see Terry Glass's hangars, and I was totally amazed about the size and vacancy of those hangars. I think they're being underused, And hopefully down the road, maybe we can look at doing something to make that space that's not being used to be an asset to the Coolidge Airport. And then yesterday, I attended the Coolidge football banquet that they have every year, an auction. It was a great turnout. My football team won, so that made it even better. But it raised a lot of money for what the schools can't pay for anymore. Football equipment, camps that they go to. So I want to thank everybody that attended that and the support that they give them. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Steve. Phil?
Oh, yeah, St. James Fiesta is this Sunday. You don't have to be a Catholic to attend. We're going to have at 9 in the morning and 9 o'clock at night. We're going to have live entertainment, food booths, games, jumping castles, game booths, a beer garden, and it's going to be a great time. So please, anybody that wants to come from City of Coolidge or Casa Grande, Dennis Fitzgibbons, you're more than welcome to come over too.
Mayor, yeah, I couldn't let, Steve does so much work on that. I want to make sure you got it.
I appreciate that.
It's a very nice event. And I also attended Breakfast Mayor. He absolutely did a great job and really promoting the city. And that's true about a lot of the businesses are really talking positive about Coolidge, and we're hitting that a lot from different places, and that's a really good thing. We also have I went to the I was late to the grand opening for Tequila Jack's, but I still got there in time to see a lot of people, and a lot of other businesses show up and say hi and everything at kind of later. I also attended the Coolidge football boosters and ended up buying a little tractor. I told my daughter it was for her to ride around Hello Kitty, so because it was a boy toy, but it was really nice, and so she was happy. And I think, and again, those of you that can, the St. James Fiesta is a very nice event, and they have entertainment. It's a lot of fun, really good food. So we encourage everybody to attend. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Flavey?
Yeah, tomorrow, Rick Miller, and I think you're coming to meet Lisa Atkins. We're trying to talk here into calling a meeting so we can annex the airport into Coolidge. We own the airport. But and Lisa has some relationship with Coolidge, especially through her grandmother, I guess, who taught here. So we're going to meet with Lisa at about 10:30 or so, or 1:30 tomorrow. So I offered to drive, but I said no. Rick said he would drive. Okay. All right, and then what else do we have? We have on the 10th we have a planning and zoning meeting at 7 p.m. The next day we have, it's not necessarily on your agenda yet, but on the 11th at 5 p.m. we have an Industrial Development Authority meeting, IDA meeting at Growth Management on Thursday the 11th. And 15th is President's Day. It's a holiday on Monday. Tuesday the 16th is a Youth Coalition meeting at the Adult Center. There's a luncheon from the Chamber on Wednesday on the 17th. And as everybody mentioned already, St. James Festival from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday at St. James. And then we start into our budget meeting on the 22nd. We have CEDC meeting on the 23rd. And we have Commander Jimmy Walker's retirement luncheon in the council chambers here on the 26th, which is, everybody should attend that on Friday, 26th. So otherwise, that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Well, it seems like a lot. I could have gone without the last item, but you know, I guess he's going to leave, and we wish him well.
He's still coming to breakfast.
Yeah.
Keep him.
I'm not going to repeat what the others mentioned. I thank them for the kind words. I think the breakfast with the mayor and getting closer to the business community certainly helps all of us prosper here. I did attend a CAG meeting recently and last Wednesday or the Wednesday before, and we dealt with the road issue quite a bit, the roads issue in Pinal and Gila counties. That's a good thing to go to. Last weekend, or the weekend before, on a Saturday, I attended the changing of command ceremony at the Coolidge National Guard Armory on Baca N and 4th, and that was an interesting experience. So we have a new commander running our National Guard Armory now. And more recently, more often than not, I've been meeting with people that are talking about bringing businesses into Coolidge, whether it be hotels or restaurants or projects of one kind or the other. Since our last meeting, we've met Rick Miller and Bob, and I've met with a couple of groups, 2 separate meetings. So there are things coming along down the road, and there are people noticing that Coolidge is starting to pick it up a notch, and I think we're going to have a decent year despite what happens everywhere else. So I just wanted to say thank you for everybody. I think these guys have done a good job. Kind of a rough start. It was sure glad to see Phoenix have some problems with a certain issue. They have a lot more lawyers than we do, and they walked right into it after we'd been there. So
They can afford more lawyers.
say, but I'm probably going to show up Sunday because I want to see Fitz on the jumping castle. So that'll be a good time. But if there's nothing else, then I would look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, Norma, pick and all in favor?
Aye.
We're out.
I would be there, but I